okay, doctor, give me everything you got. I just want to go fast. No way. Would never do that.
How many times do I have to say it? I'm just trying to make sure your testimony is clear. Well, if it can't be any clearer than I've never taken drugs, then incidents like that could never have happened. Okay. How clear is that?
7 Tour de France titles and a decade of lies. NBC News has confirmed Lance Armstrong admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs in an interview to air this Thursday with Oprah Winfrey. This morning, she described why Armstrong decided to come clean.
He was just ready. I think the velocity of everything that's come at him in the past several months, and particularly in the past several weeks, he was just ready.
There is considerable speculation regarding Armstrong's motivation and what he gets out of the admission. Before the interview, the cyclist reportedly gave an emotional apology to his cancer nonprofit, Livestrong, saying he is, quote, sorry for the stress he caused them. But it could also be a sign that Armstrong is ready to begin competing again, possibly in triathlons, his sport of choice after the United States Anti-Doping Agency, the USADA, stripped Armstrong of his titles last October and slapped him with a lifetime ban from cycling. Another potential factor, Armstrong is being sued for fraud and could be forced to repay tens of millions of dollars to his sponsor, the U.S. Post Office. The U.S. Justice Department is considering joining that lawsuit. Regardless, appealing to the USADA for leniency may be a hard sell. In an interview last week, the head of the organization said he received anonymous threats during his investigation into Armstrong's doping.
The worst was probably putting a bullet in my head.
Did you take that seriously?
Absolutely. Turned it over to the FBI to investigate it, which they're doing.
Armstrong may have one bargaining chip left, exposing the broader culture of doping in hopes of a better deal. Joining us now is CEO of Roops to Go Mobile Sports Network, Selena Roberts. Selena, you are the expert on all things Armstrong. I will quote you, something that I find awkward and entertaining on this show. I don't really think, you wrote, there's any politician, celebrity, or athlete who has really put together the machinery to suppress reporting about them like Lance Armstrong. You say that Armstrong has tried to actually smear you in your reporting about him. Tell us about the Armstrong industrial complex in terms of suppressing information about juicing.
Well, I mean, it all begins with Armstrong as the head bully. And everything sort of springs from that. I mean, he basically comes across and he makes you feel as if you are assaulting an American hero. And the machinery around that, the lawyers that you have to deal with whenever you ask a question, the PR people that will leak stuff about what you're looking at and what you're doing, all that's part of the machinery that really is wound around him. And when you deal with that, you deal with, as Travis Tiger said, the threats that come with that. The threats could be your job. It could be a letter from his lawyers to your boss saying that you're not doing your job right, that you are sinister and you're out for no good. Those kind of things, what you think wouldn't fly, apparently flew for 15 years, because that's what anyone who would confront him with a question was turned into an accuser. And that's what you dealt with for the last 15 years.
Are you surprised by this? I mean, given the lengths that he went to protect himself, we played that tape at the beginning of this segment, that the obstinance, the aggression, the scolding tenor that he took with the American public, or the suggestion that he was doping. And then it turns out that he was. And not only was he juicing, he was doing so in a big way. He's accused of trafficking doping substances, administering it, getting other people to get in on this with him. I mean, brazen is not, I think, a sufficient word for the behavior, but it's the only one that comes to mind.
Well, what's even more sick than that is how he protected himself against the scorn, was to raise the cancer shield, was to always invoke Livestrong as the Teflon coating with if you come after me, then you must be pro-cancer. That's how you felt. You felt like he was using cancer as a weapon against you if you tried to tease him apart from Livestrong and deal with him as Armstrong. You couldn't. He would make sure that that was one shield altogether, that you were continually fighting to get to the truth.
Andrew, is there a hope that Lance Armstrong's public image will be ameliorated after an interview and a mea culpa?
I can't see how the image gets better. The only thing I can see is that somehow he takes down the whole system, and maybe 5-10 years from now somebody gives him credit for that. But I still don't understand why anybody would actually make a deal with him. That's what I cannot figure out for the life of me. And I don't think this is Tiger Woods. I don't think this is I don't think there's a comparable situation. situation where you look at somebody who's had a problem like this and you think, wow, they're going to be able to be marketable again in the future. I don't understand why he still wants to be in sports and why he thinks there's going to be fans who are going to support him.
Well, he has tens of millions of dollars in debt. Perhaps that's one of the animating factors in all this, Ryan. But this is, to Andrew's point, different than, let's say, Pete Rose or Darryl Strawberry, right, or you know, I mean, there are a lot of scandals in sports these days, but this does seem to be on a different level.
Yeah, Pete Rose is a saint compared to this guy. I mean, the only way I think you can even plausibly defend him is to point out that basically everybody was doing it.
That would be true if he wasn't screaming from the rooftops for the past decade and making people like Selena's life miserable. I mean, please.
Well, I mean, there's an industry of misery, I guess, in dealing with Lance. But I think that he wasn't just like everybody else, because he took it to another level and said, if you're not like me, I will ruin you.
Right.
I will fire you from my team. I will, if you suggest anything about me like Greg LeMond did, I will ruin your bike business. I will take you out. That's sociopathic. That's a very different bar than just somebody cheating to get ahead and to get big deals. And what he's doing now is equally sociopathic, because he's coming back in and trying to get this public forum again. He's trying to come in and make this a market for himself once again, not just to compete, but then to one day run a triathlon series. That's the money.
What it does, actually, Steve, is leave the top cycling spot open, which is good news for you, brother.
Yeah, I'm going to get those training wheels off the bike and let's
listen. No more tricycle days for you.
Here's the thing. I'm one of the most gullible people in the country, because it wasn't until the last few months that I really looked around and I said, yeah, he probably did this. There's an enormous amount. I took an enormous amount of pride, I think, as an American in watching him go over to Europe and win these things year after year, and say, you know what? Yeah, all these Europeans are doing it too. And the fact of the stage 4 cancer survival, I think, made you not want to believe that the worst. But yeah, the worst is true.
From American hero to American sociopath. Selena, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for the intel. Thanks to the rest of the panel, Ryan, Andrew, Steve, and Selena, of course.